Hey lovely, or Hexling if you're from my Discord. I'm Imogen. This video is part 4 in the series, which has now been extended to 7 videos. I extended this series as I had to break down nearly 15 hours of footage into 3 smaller videos, mostly focusing on painting. I hope it makes it easier to watch, and if I do skip anything you're interested in, please do let me know and I'll happily share more. In this video, I'm starting to paint my battle sister from TRAVELLINGMANUK UK's Suns Out Guns Out Warhammer Painting Challenge. If you haven't seen the unboxing, either the short or long form versions, the building process and or the kit bashing videos, I'll pop them below along with links to the challenge itself. Don't forget though, the challenge ends on July 31st, 2025. So let's get started putting paint on my 18th ever miniature. So let's get onto the priming. I like to do my priming on black and white, although this colour restricted challenge I guess there wasn't really much other options. I'm a fan of the Zenithal priming process and aim to mimic that here. For this project, I used Vallejo primers with a little fluid to help get the paint moving inside my airbrush, and I decided not to show you my airbrush setup process. It's more or less a plug and play Vallejo trigger airbrush, standard compressor, pop-up photography tin, and standard safety supplies and equipment. That said, I did a little unboxing on this trigger airbrush that I used, so I'll link that below if you're interested in seeing it. I started my battle sister upside down, attached to a cork, with Kraut Cover's Kraut Tack super sticky adhesive. I moved on to doing the gun, thinking that you couldn't see the back or the bottom once adhered to our sister. I learned I was wrong, so I only primed up one side and the edges in black. And of course, priming that base to hide my green stuff. I used my airbrush to help dry my pieces, and once dry enough, I flipped her over and airbrushed her top down with white Vallejo primer. I was making sure while I was spraying that I was coming from a high enough angle to ensure that I paid attention to the light direction. I wanted the sun to come in over her left shoulder, but she's at the beach in an open sunny area, but I knew that where I placed more concentration of white would be our brightest highlights. I went on to prime the other side of the gun in white and also the whole beach umbrella, which I totally forgot to send the UV resin first, so it was a total pain getting the airbrush primer paint to actually stick to the glossy smooth surface, but I made it work. And yes, mental note, sand UV resin before attempting to prime in the future. I knew this. I know this. I knew it then. I know it now. So why didn't I do it? I don't know. Although, in full transparency, after a couple of hours, I went back in and repainted the entire umbrella with Pro Acryl's titanium white anyway. I did this to ensure that there was no orange, green, or pink showing, despite, ironically, those are the exact colours that I got in my box. So the challenge rules. The caveat to this challenge is that you can only use the 4 paints they provide, along with black and white of your choice. Genuinely having a low-key breakdown, thinking I might have broken a rule using a different black and white for priming, but the rules say as long as no additional colour is added, so I think we're okay. And so again, the paints that we got in our box are AK Interactive 3rd Gen AK11078 Medium Orange, the Army Painter War Paints APWP 1130 Plate Mail Metal Metallic, Vallejo Colour 72.030 Birdie Goblin Green, and Citadel Colour Base Paint Screamer Pink. Plus my Pro Acryl in Charcoal Black and Pro Acryl Titanium White. Here we are, hyped and ready for the paint. As said, it's my 18th model, but I'm confident and have ideas, although up until this very moment I still hadn't actually decided if we were going to mix metallic silver with the green or the pink to create the armour. All I knew is whichever colour I didn't go for the armour, I was definitely going to go with the fabric. So the cape, hat and the robe bits. Choices. So, in the end, I thought I'd get more variation if I brought in some orange, so I opted to go for the pink with the cloak and tried to mix the green and metallic silver for the armour. Honestly, I thought it would create a metallic green, but it kept separating, and even worse when I added the black. But I think I managed to cobble together a workable value range for shiny armour. I went darker in the recesses and hidden areas, lighter on those exposed areas, and added white highlights for those extra bright reflective spots. But I'll be detailing more in the next videos. So let's have some real talk. I'm sharing this process because I feel it's crucial to have a plan, or at least some basic ideas early on, and to not worry too much if things don't go as anticipated. Colours often look different in the bottle than they do on the model, on the label, or even online. Models might be bigger, smaller, or trickier than expected. Paints don't always behave as you'd anticipated either. For example, I had some issues with separation and was painting during a literal heatwave, one of the hottest days in a long time. And I also ran into some issues, like between the palette and my model, the paint dried too quickly, didn't apply as I thought, and I ended up overloading my brush to compensate for the heat, which ended up flooding my model. So, there was definitely some challenges, but I absolutely had loads of fun, and my simple idea, despite the paint restriction challenge, absolutely came to life. So going green with the armour meant we were going to go pink with the fabric, maybe the outside pink and the inside shadowy parts wet blend pink and some orange, and maybe darken with some black. Weirdly, it turned purple, and mixing even more orange made it red. So, this video is about laying down foundations, priming all the parts and ensuring that I had a good base. I use the Zenithal prime technique in black and white, but that's not always mandatory, and it's also probably what I would have done even without the colour restrictions. So, setting down foundations, base layers, and using whatever paints you like, can afford, or are required for your challenge is great. Usually, I try to block in some ranges around the midtones, and then later go in with my darker darks and lighter lights, and of course, refining those details. That said, I'm only 18 models deep in this hobby and still figuring it all out. But I've learned a lot over the years doing my digital art and other hobbies, and so sometimes getting super detailed early on can give me that ADH wind to carry me forward and really see where my project could go. And on this model, that was definitely her face. I'd had a thought that mixing the orange and the pink with a lot of white would give me a skin tone. And to be honest, it did. And I wasn't mad at it. In fact, I was actually quite happy with it. This was my first attempt at painting human skin at this size. I've done a couple of 75mm based minis before, but trying to nail the eyes on this one, oof. I think I liked her better when she had glowing white eyes, but of course I didn't leave her that way. I also stole the opportunity to give her classic battle sister grey and white hair, although not much of it is visible under that big comical floppy summer hat. Just a reminder, while out, our summer solstice sister got badly burnt on her first ever mission and was then teased and nicknamed Sister Sunburn, thus the hat. But if you want to know her full story and some of her lore, come back for video 7 where I'll reveal her story, my model, and of course, my whole thoughts on this painting process journey. So before wrapping up this session, I quickly threw down some orange and a mix of pink and orange darkened with black to make a red for the beach umbrella. I was aiming for that classic, slightly distressed, sun-faded tone, which I'll build upon later with weathering effects. So, if you're excited to see where this goes next, make sure you're subscribed and hit the bell to get notifications of when my next painting segment goes live. That'll be part 5 of this series, and I'll be focusing on fabrics, textures, and detail work, painting the cloak, hat, robe, umbrella, and even refining some of those armor and power pack metal reflections, and getting ready to mount her onto her base. Thank you so much for watching, and hey, while I still have you here, don't forget to like this video and of course leave a comment. Perhaps let me know what you would have done, armor pink, fabrics green. I genuinely want to know. And of course, you're always welcome to come hang out with me on Discord where we could chat about it there, or we could chat about life, hobbies, model painting, gaming, or just share your finished works, links, and thoughts. Link to that and everything else in the description below, alongside my Instagram, which is @awitchesminis. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.